Deadliest Catch Season 21 Episode 10 Der. Epic Betrayal as Sig Hansen destroys Keith's $1,000,000 decoy plan and Jake switches sides. The 10th episode of Deadliest Catch Season 21 delivered one of the most intense betrayals and strategic mind games in the show's history, as the final days of Beardy Crab season turned into an all-out war between longtime allies. With mandatory offload dates looming and millions of dollars on the line, Captain Keith Colburn's elaborate decoy plan spectacularly backfired when Jake Anderson chose blood over friendship, ultimately helping Sig Hansen raid Keith's secret fishing grounds. Meanwhile, Captain Jonathan Hillstrand battled massive storms and mechanical failures aboard the Time Bandit in a desperate race to complete his Red King Crab quota before the season ended. The episode opened with the fleet scattered across 230 miles northeast of Dutch Harbor, where Jake Anderson, aboard the Titan Explorer, was struggling to find his final 50,000 pounds of Beardy crab needed to purchase the boat from the Hillstrand family. After switching from milk to whipping cream in his coffee and joking about preferring it to empty pots, Jake's mood quickly soured as his previously hot fishing grounds had gone completely cold. With only 72 hours until mandatory offload, Jake's dream of becoming an owner-operator was slipping away with each empty pot that came aboard. 12 miles south, Captain Keith Colburn and the Wizard crew were experiencing the opposite problem. They had found what Keith described as hot as it can get for Beardy fishing. With 150,000 worth of crab already in their tanks and over 10 miles from the nearest competitor, Keith was racing to harvest his remaining 20,000 pounds of quota while keeping his secret location away from the watchful eyes of Sig Hansen. Keith knew that once Sig caught wind of good fishing, he would throw every pot he's got on it. So maintaining secrecy was crucial to his success. The strategic chess match began when Jake called Keith for help, admitting he was getting his butt kicked and desperately needed to find better fishing grounds. Keith, seeing an opportunity to create a diversion, hatched an elaborate decoy plan that would use Jake as an unwitting pawn. The scheme involved Keith setting 20 pots in a dead zone to the east, while Jake would set his own string nearby, creating the illusion of productive fishing that would lure Sig away from Keith's actual hotspot. Keith even offered to let Jake clean out his gear at the end if Jake wasn't finding crab elsewhere, showing the level of trust between the two captains. 9 miles north aboard the Northwestern, Captain Sig Hansen was experiencing his own fishing slowdown and growing suspicious of the activity happening south of his position. When Sig called Jake to inquire about the fishing conditions, Jake made a fateful decision that would change the entire dynamic of the episode. Instead of going along with Keith's decoy plan, Jake revealed the entire scheme to Sig, explaining that Keith was trying to set a fake string to dupe him into following away from the real fishing grounds. This revelation delighted Sig, who immediately saw an opportunity to turn Keith's plan against him. Sig's strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. If Keith was so paranoid about protecting an area that he would create an elaborate decoy, then that area must contain the best fishing. Rather than fall for the fake setup, Sig decided to head directly for Keith's protected fishing grounds, effectively reversing the entire deception so it would backfire in his face. Jake's decision to betray Keith's trust marked a significant shift in the fleet's alliances, with Jakey choosing the Hansen family's guidance over his friendship with the man who had literally saved his life. Meanwhile, 140 miles southwest on the western Red King Crab grounds, Captain Jonathan Hillstrand faced his own crisis aboard the Time Bandit. With only 3 days until offload and needing 20,000 pounds from 80 remaining pots, Jonathan's timeline was complicated by a massive 220-mile wide low-pressure system heading straight for his fishing grounds. The Time Bandit crew needed to average 40 crabs per pot to make their numbers work, and early pulls showed they were falling short with only 22 per pot. The situation aboard the Time Bandit deteriorated rapidly when their port main engine died while hauling gear. Investigation revealed that pot line had wrapped around the propeller shaft, creating a potentially catastrophic situation that could kill the engine entirely. Using a camera system inherited from his father, Jonathan was able to assess the damage underwater, discovering that the shaft was completely wrapped in polyurethane line. The massive amount of line around the propeller reduced the Time Bandit's speed from 8 knots to 6 knots, severely impacting their ability to work their remaining gear before the weather hit. Back on the eastern Verdi grounds, Keith's worst fears were realized when he spotted both Sig and Jake turning toward his protected fishing area. Keith's panicked radio calls to Jake revealed his desperation as he watched his carefully orchestrated plan collapse in real time. The irony was devastating. Keith had tried to use Jake as a decoy to protect his fishing grounds, only to have Jake lead Sig directly to the treasure Keith was trying to hide. The betrayal deepened when Keith called Jake to confront him about the situation. Jake's explanation that he was fishing now and would take Keith's crab because he would do the same to me showed how the pressure of the final days had changed their relationship dynamic. Despite Keith having saved Jake's life by pulling him from a life raft during the sinking of the Scandies Rose, business was business when millions of dollars were at stake. Keith's problems multiplied exponentially when his crew discovered a major mechanical failure in their circulation system. The pipes that funnel fresh seawater through the vessel's holding tanks had cracked, threatening the oxygen levels needed to keep their 500,000 load of crab alive. This crisis forced Keith to halt his westward journey and drain 30,000 gallons of water from his live well to make emergency repairs at sea. The pressure was immense. If they couldn't fix the circulation system quickly, their entire catch would suffocate and die. The repair operation showcased the incredible skill and teamwork of the Wizard crew as they worked in the confined space of the drained tank to replace damaged pipes with flexible hoses and clamps. Keith's relief was palpable when the repairs were completed and circulation was restored to the tanks, saving their massive catch from certain death. However, the lost time allowed Sig and Jake to establish themselves firmly on Keith's former fishing grounds. Captain Jonathan's situation aboard the Time Bandit grew increasingly desperate as the weather deteriorated to 30-foot seas, while they continued pulling their remaining pots. Despite the crippled propeller and dangerous conditions, Jonathan's crew managed to maintain their average and complete their quota with determination that exemplified the Time Bandits' never quit attitude. The episode included a touching tribute to their friend Carl, Blind Dog, Gorsinger, who had recently drowned in the harbor, showing the emotional toll this dangerous profession takes on the tight-knit fishing community. The climax of the strategic warfare came when Keith, despite his anger over the betrayal, decided to help Jake complete his quota. In a gesture that spoke to Keith's character, he allowed Jake to fish his gear, putting their friendship above the business competition. This decision showed that while the crab fishing business could create temporary enemies, the bonds forged through shared danger and mutual rescue ultimately transcended monetary concerns. The episode's resolution saw all three captains successfully completing their seasons despite the various crises. Sig Hansen's Northwestern finished with 110,000 pounds of crab worth $1.8 million, earning each deckhand 91,000 for their efforts. Keith's Wizard managed 120,000 pounds despite the mechanical failures and strategic setbacks, providing $90,000 paydays for his crew. Jake's Betrayal paid off with a $3 million fall season that brought him significantly closer to purchasing the Titan Explorer, though he joked about maybe buying the Wizard next. Jonathan Hillstrand's Time Bandit completed their season with 100,000 pounds of monster red king crab, with the western grounds providing larger, more valuable crabs that earned each crew member 135 heroes aura. Jonathan's decision to push west despite the mechanical problems and dangerous weather proved financially rewarding, though he acknowledged that divine intervention had helped them through the challenges. The episode concluded with a preview of the upcoming Apilio crab season, showing that after 3 years away from this fishery, the fleet was ready to tackle new challenges. Sig's excitement about returning to Apilio fishing, combined with high demand and good prices, set up the next phase of their dangerous profession. However, preview footage of fires, injuries, and equipment failures suggested that the winter fisheries would bring their own set of life-threatening challenges. This episode masterfully demonstrated how the pressure of final season days can transform allies into enemies and test every relationship in the fleet. Keith's elaborate decoy plan, while clever in theory, ultimately failed because it relied on trust in an environment where survival and success often require ruthless decision-making. Jake's choice to side with Sig over Keith illustrated the complex dynamics of mentor relationships and business competition that define the Deadliest catch fleet. The mechanical failures aboard both the Wizard and Time Bandit highlighted the constant threat of equipment breakdown in one of the world's most unforgiving environments. The skill and determination required to make emergency repairs while maintaining fishing operations showcased why these crews command such respect and compensation for their dangerous work.